Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Partner Spotlight series of Plurality Network. I'm Hira, co founder and CEO of Plurality Network. And today we have a very special guest with us, Ryan Roybal, who's leading the Aspect Design Agency and have a very interesting product called Cuda that have been created right out of their agency. Cuda is an on-chain exhibition archive, and without further ado, let's hear it directly from Ryan what this is all about. So, hello Ryan, how are you feeling today?
Hi, dear. I'm feeling great. Super excited to be join you today.
Yeah, pretty cool. Tell us more about Cuda. What is it all about?
Cuda. Cuda is basically an on-chain exhibition archive. Spending a bit of time in the Web3 and art world, we've kind of been, I guess you can say, spending our time observing what the old world is about, how it's been run. Also considering like blockchain as a technology, Web3, and how we can kind of like bridge the gap and move these two worlds closer together. And after about 2.5, 3 years of research, spending a lot of time going to all our Basel fairs, frees, and just encasing ourselves within this entire art community that's both digital and physical, we've kind of sat down and thought about how we could actually create a product that not only helped people out to understand art, but also helped out to preserve the exhibitions that might have been influential to us, that have then been packed up, shipped away, and put on their way for another space. So yeah, I guess that's just the basically the rough idea is that we would then capture exhibitions on the blockchain so that they are permanently inscribed.
Okay, perfect. So, how would you explain this to a normal person who's not aware with what blockchain is, or why should you even put an exhibition on chain, basically?
Yeah, I mean, so blockchain I think has been used for a multitude of different reasons. A lot of the things we've seen in the past have been transactional based, so moving of funds, purchasing of anything from art to collectibles, and we kind of wanted to showcase a way that like the blockchain could then be used to harness provenance and archive creative value and cultural context, which is in our first understanding really wrapped up in artwork, which is then used to compose a exhibition.
Okay. Pretty cool. So let's say that there is a person that you're talking to. How would you explain them the permanence part? Like, how would you explain to them that your art can be like permanently on chain, and what are the benefits to that?
Well, I think for us it was if you start to look at the exhibitions that have been featured at various different museums and galleries, a lot of the data that's associated with that, the exhibition data being, who was the curator, what pieces of artwork were featured, what was the time, like what was the start and end date, and different notions of this, or maybe the story behind it, or the layout, like the plan of the actual physical exhibition. And these things are harnessed on the websites, usually run by the gallery or the museum. And from our perspective, this is something that if you had the opportunity to have a single place where all these different types of metadata resided, then we're having an archive that we're based or that we're developing. And then with this, we can start to say, well, hey, your piece of artwork was featured in this exhibition, as well as this exhibition. We can start to have a correlation between these. And I think this is where we really open up the discussion to say, hey, how was this piece influential in this point in time? Where did it travel? What was its journey? Same thing goes with the curation. I think that giving a pedestal or a sounding board for the curators to really have their voices heard and an understanding of what was the impetus behind putting together that particular exhibition. It's quite important for us. I think you can maybe kind of correlate it a little bit to like, if we think in the past, like archives that we've had, we have like the Library of Alexander, which has been kind of disappeared a couple of times in the past. But this was a very rich place of knowledge where it was a storage of knowledge, and it was something that you could go and cross reference. So I think that's sort of our overall idea of to use blockchain, not only for like a cultivation of knowledge, but to store cultural history as well.
Really cool. So, do you think that so generative AI tools are really going like they're progressing really fast. And do you think that provenance will be more of a problem when the generative AI tools are more prevalent?
It depends on, it could be, it could go both ways, I think. It ultimately depends on who's creating the technology and how it's being programmed I guess you could say, cross-reference, fact check. I do see, personally, I think there's a big or a strong synergy between AI and blockchain. They both seem to, from our opinion, really coexist together somehow. You know, AI is now generating new nodes. It allows people to then start programming their ideas and research that they've done. And then you have blockchain that just can go back and show, you know, it can timestamp what pieces were used to develop this node. So we're kind of having this, what's the word I'm looking for? Not fact checking, but you're gonna have to help me out here.
The
Anyways,
connecting with the original data pieces, like where did something come from and how it's being
yeah,
used and what's the
there's a word for
provenance.
this. I just can't think of it right now.
Yeah, I can't think of it either. No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what sparked the motivation behind the idea? I know that you've been working at a design agency and have been in the art space for some time, but what really clicked? Like, what was the one thought or the eureka moment where you thought like, okay, this is what I need to be doing?
I think it came from spending so much time at all the art fairs and around the digital artists, galleries, and museums, and just starting to think of like, what is it that could actually benefit everybody right now? I mean, because a lot of times, you know, patrons, people will go to a museum and they'll look at an incredible piece of art that moves them, and it's not really about the actual ownership of it or purchasing that. Maybe they don't have the money or whereabouts to, you know, ship, store, whatever it might be. But it's more about the human connection that we have with the creative. And I think that somehow having an archive that encapsulates the notion that was behind putting together one of these exhibitions is something that could really start to bring people together and open a discussion. I think that was the most important thing. I mean, the first we have been spending a lot of time, especially working with you guys to develop the tool itself. But I think that
Yeah.
the first iteration is really the editorial section that will then open up this whole discussion into like how is blockchain important to preserving and archiving artwork.
Okay, so since you have like explained it so well, but I'm a noob in the art industry, and I would like to ask you some very dumb questions, which probably our audience will also be thinking about. So when we talk about putting an exhibition on chain, I can understand from a noob user perspective, like why this would be important for the creators. But on the other hand, we have the museums and art galleries. Did you also get interest from them, or what is it in it for them? Like creating something based on blockchain, why are the museums or the art galleries interested in it?
I think the interest from their side is that this is something that allows people who might have not had the opportunity to visit the exhibition or patrons that actually did go visit the exhibition and then want to go back and revisit because they found out some interesting knowledge around some artwork, or maybe they read a book from the curator and now it's kind of like they want to revisit that. So this is giving that platform and that place where people can go have that experience and dive in a little bit deeper. I'd say that's kind of like the fundamental level. Ultimately, like there's a much larger vision in how we can actually use this to grow engagement and have people understand a bit more about the historical and cultural relevance of the artwork.
Okay, now that you've mentioned engagement, I would also like to ask, like, how does curation actually work in Cuda? Who is basically deciding that which artwork goes on an exhibition? Is it the museum, or do people also get a chance or a vote to figure out like which art pieces are more which art pieces they want to see or they want to engage more with?
Well, first off, I'd say the curation is first going to be curated exhibition. So it's not about singular pieces of artwork, but it's more about an exhibition. So that's a multi. Could I mean an exhibition could be one piece, but generally there's more than one in a single exhibition. So I'd say that would be the first way of explaining it. So it's not single artworks; it's exhibitions. And number two, at first, we have chosen a few pieces that we think, or a few exhibitions that we think are influential into the world that we're living in right now. And the ultimate idea, like you said, is to open the doors and say, what are exhibitions that fall in line that we do feel are appropriate to be featured. And going back into the editorial side, that's where we're going to start to open up the community and say, well, who is it that's within our community or who wants to be a part of the community who has this interest or knowledge that they want to share with other people. And I think that's the importance. It can't be us just making all the decisions at Cuda. I think Cuda ultimately is going to be it's going to be a community of people that have a cross reference and interests and ideas and bring something new to the table. And I think that's going to be the ultimate beauty, is that the curation will be done by more of the community.
So, for example, the community can, for example, like or dislike um, artwork, or like how do you measure like which pieces are being received more positively by the community and which maybe you should I don't know, sort, like put them a little bit down or something, like, because now we're in the space where art is somewhere between the physical and digital, and in physical spaces you do not have so much opportunities to curate, but as soon as you venture into the digital world, there's like so many options to curate. I want to think about your thought process about what you're doing now, where you're looking at, like everything basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty deep question to get in. I think the first question was where and how do people choose? I think that of course, when you're at the physical exhibition, there will be a link between the platform and the actual exhibition itself. So there is a dialogue that can start in the physical space that would then be mirrored onto the CUDA platform. I think that afterwards, like especially people who maybe didn't have an opportunity to join or just found out about it after the physical exhibition had been taken down. I think that's where another dialogue can start. You can have something online that's going to allow people to have a discussion around community, around understanding of the artist's impetus, or what was it that the curator decided to put into this exhibition that might have been linked to a previous exhibition that they had done.
Cool, pretty cool. This sounds so interesting that you haven't completely taken out the physical part, because I do believe that art should be appreciated by seeing at it in its raw form with our raw eyes in a physical presence, but then you link it with a digital part later on. I find this idea pretty cool. So I want to ask like one thing. I know that you guys are using Plurality Network's SDK, but how did you find out that Plurality is the right fit for this, or how are you using Plurality for what features? Where do you find value?
Yeah, I mean, plurality was amazing, especially for us, the fact that it's giving ownership back to the person who's creating the wallet. I don't like to use the word user, but that's typical what people use in the space. But ultimately, that's what it's doing. And I think for us, that's something that's ultra valuable. And the fact that you're using blockchain to store this information and give that to the person who created it, so that then they have that and they can take that data that they had created on a platform and move it to another platform. For us, that's aligned 100% with our goals and values. So I think having partnerships like this and working with people who share the same interest is like it's of the utmost importance to us. So yeah, it was a very natural fit from our perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing this feedback with us. And like, what are the next plans for Cuda? If somebody wants to see, like, what's your like, do you guys have any exhibitions planned, or when can actually people try out this cool product of yours?
I mean, this the roadmap is pretty long. We're slowly chipping away. I mean, for us, most of the energy is being put right now in finalizing our first prototype that we'll be bringing to market, the actual tool itself, the digital tool. On this, parallel to this, we're starting to develop our online editorial community and how we're going to work that out. We're starting to reach out to some people who might have ideas and thoughts that they want to share in an article, and we're opening the doors and saying, hey, this is the overall topic and understanding of like where CUDA is going. If you have something, you work in the art world and you think that you have I don't know, a view or something that can contribute to that, we're completely open to that. So we've already identified a few people who are like, hey, we would love to hear what you have to say. I'm like, well, we're very happy to contribute it in the form of an article. So, yeah, the editorial side is something we're working on. But like I said, there's a pretty long road ahead of us. So we've, been down these roads before. So I think it's more about really planning everything and making sure that we're aligned. Once we have, the editorial section developed, then the tool comes out. And then we're actually going to have a really exciting moment where the digital and physical come together. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
pretty cool.
Oops.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you asked me where we can find out more information. Maybe you want to ask that question again since I cut you off.
No worries. I'm going to ask you one last question and then we can wrap up with like how do you want people to contact you? So my last question is, since the industry that you're operating in is essentially creator economy, and creator economy is a huge market, and every user that we talk to, every creator we talk to, realizes the need that it needs to be like immutable and linked to the blockchain. But unfortunately, Web3 has its challenges when it comes to mass adoption of creator economy. I'd like to hear your thoughts about why do you think creator economy has not yet taken off? Do you think that it's a sleeping giant that would fly off a few years from now, or is it already here, or like what do you think about it?
Great question. I mean, where to start with this one? Is it already here? I think it is definitely already here. Is it a sleeping giant? Yes. Has it taken off yet? No. Reason why, I think, is because the hardware and the technical side of it is still very complex. I think that when people have to, scramble to understand the tech, that's the shortcomings. When the tech is completely seamless and people don't even realize that they're using it, I think that's when it's taken off. Given that, this is a very tech heavy world that we're in right now. So I think that the challenge really comes with having people understand how to create something that's seamless, how to create an experience that people can have with the technology that either goes unnoticed in the background or it's something that people enjoy that journey. But I have to say at the moment, there's still a little bit of clunkiness to it. I think this is something that we struggle with every single day. So
Yeah,
it's
this
coming.
is exactly the vision that we are building towards as well. We also believe that the experience is very clunky and it needs to be way, way more simplified than it is right now. That's also the vision we are building towards.
Yeah. But it's going to happen. I mean, it's just time. It's still early. So
Yeah. I also believe like there are a lot of initiatives around the UX problems of Web3, and sooner rather than later, I also think it would be solved.
yeah.
This
I
was
mean, you guys
very
are
in
you're already on
yeah,
the forefront of this. So
yeah. This was very, very interesting. So, Ryan, if somebody wants to reach out to you for any collaboration or just wants to kind of follow you, where should they reach out to you? Where are you more active? What's your choice of poison?
well, first off, I'd say going to the website, that's cuda.art, CUDA.art, and you can just sign up there for the mailing list and then click one of our follow us on Instagram. And we're still kind of like undercover what we're doing, but we got a lot coming forward. So yeah, I'd say that's the best
Cool.
place to find us at the moment.
Cool. So everyone who wants to give Ryan a follow and see what they're up to, go to Cuda.art, follow their Instagram, and see the exciting updates that they have in the upcoming months. Thank you so much, everyone. This was the first episode of the Partner Spotlight series, and we will be coming back with a lot more partners with a lot more interesting products that they're building. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye bye.